What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with another review for College Hill. This is College Hill Celebrity Edition, you guys. This is season 2. This is episode number 5, I believe, you guys. I'm trying to find it in my notes, but this is episode number 5, and this episode was titled Magic City, Here We Come, you guys. So before we go ahead and get into this episode, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on those post notifications, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss College Hill Celebrity Edition, shall we? All right, you guys. So you guys remember in the last episode, it is time for everyone to get ready for their midterms, right? So they went to their acting class, and they're paired up in partners. So it was everyone was there minus their partners. So the professor told them, like, y'all got a few minutes to call your partners up, tell them to get to class, because if they don't get here, you guys are going to get an incomplete, right? So they get on the phone, they're trying to find them, but eventually everybody shows up. So it was Ray, it was Amber, Parker, and Jocelyn, right? So you guys remember that in last week's episode, Ray wanted to go back and find his room, find his phone, and that's why they were late. And I was thinking to myself in last week's episode, why did it take everybody else to help Ray find his phone when Ray clearly had a phone in his hand, but he wanted to find the other phone? So they made it to class, and when they made it to class, it was hilarious, right? Because so they started with their so you guys, they're acting, and they're doing a mock interview basically, right? And I actually did that when I was in college. My last semester of college, I had a class called How to Get a Job. In the class, my professor, she taught us how to write a good resume. She taught us good skills when it comes to doing an interview. And she even gave me really great tips, because for me, when I get like really, really nervous in a situation, I have a problem as it is with stuttering. I do stutter, but it's even worse when I'm nervous. I stumble and trip over my words, right? So my professor and I had a conversation, and I was like, well, for me, I have a stutter problem. I was like, and it's really intensified when I'm nervous, right? So and I told her, I'm pretty sure this is gonna happen when I go on job interviews. So the thing for me that she told me, which it actually does work for me even to this day when I do interviews, I'm still a little nervous when I do an interview, but she told me if you prepare, you don't have to worry about it. If you prepare, if you think about the questions before when they ask you the questions, think about it. Tell them, say get a few minutes and think about your answer before you say it, right? And then also she told me some tips like research the job position that you're looking into and know what kind of anticipate what they're going to ask you. And just, because we had a list of things like, questions that they might ask on interviews. She said, just read that, know what you want to say, and be clear on what you want to say. And it works for me to this day. Now, do I have moments where I still do trip up and stutter? Absolutely, right? So the first up was Orion and Orion and Ray J. And so they're doing a funeral. It's a funeral home, and Ray J just doesn't take anything seriously, but it was hilarious when he was talking about he had sex in a casket, and Orion hit him with, but you can't have sex with the dead. He said, the one with the dead, it was with my wife, and the professor even laughed, right? So Tiffany and Amber, they went, and Tiffany is a nurse, right? But Tiffany says she wants to go back to being a nurse because I guess her husband's dick came off, and so she wants to put it back on. So Amber asked her, so have you ever worked with the elderly? She said, yeah, and I've worked in geriatrics. And Amber was like, that's the same thing. So she was like, wait a minute, so geriatrics isn't with the babies? No, Tiffany, that is pediatrics. Parker and Iman, they were doing an interview for Subway, but it was more like a pickup call. It was more like pickup, right? And then Jocelyn and Quay, their interview was, so for her, their interview was voiceover work, right? And so Jocelyn had to do her best scream, and it was hilarious, but it was real fun. So I think that they did great with the acting part of their midterm. Now, the rest of the midterms, I don't know if they really did, I don't think they did that good, right? So then we see that they got home. Parker called her mom up. And, Parker was just basically telling her mom how much she's enjoying this experience. And then after that, we saw Ray talking. I believe it was Ray, Orion, and Amber, right? And it was in this moment that you really do start to see a little bit more that Amber does struggle with her. I think Amber struggles a lot with her identity. Now, I believe Amber, now, from what earlier episodes, I do believe Amber identifies as a black woman, or she might identify as a biracial woman. Now, because we're going to talk about this next week's episode, but I'm going to briefly just touch on it real quick. Because the fact that Jocelyn is telling her she's black, but she wants to be a white woman, that's not necessarily the case. She's biracial, so she can't just erase one side of her. She is a woman of color. She does have black in her, but she also has white in her. So she can't denounce either one of them. Like, outwardly looking at Amber, Amber does not look like she is white passing. So yeah, I mean, but we'll talk about that next week, right? But it was just interesting listening to Amber. I was like, yeah, she definitely struggles with who she is as a person, right? And I think that's probably been a lot of Amber's issues in her relationships, because she talked about how it was when she dates a black man and how it is when she dates a white man. And I think that those struggles are because Amber doesn't know how she wants to identify. I think people probably try to place Amber in a box, and it doesn't work for her, which it shouldn't work for you. Don't let people place you in a box. But I think that might be part of the issue. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and we're going to pause here and move forward. All right, you guys. So next up, we have, I believe this is their African American studies. So you guys know that it's midterms, right? So I love the fact that Quay got up and he talked about Juneteenth. If you guys aren't familiar with Juneteenth, I mean, I love the fact that he broke it down. So I do see this argument on social media so much that nobody knew about Juneteenth until, the situation that happened with George Floyd in 2020. That's not necessarily true. Definitely here in the South, we have celebrated Juneteenth for years and years and years. I've celebrated Juneteenth since I can remember. I remember I've always celebrated Juneteenth because Juneteenth is something very, very big here in Texas. If you're not familiar with Juneteenth, Juneteenth is technically, it's only for Texas, because that's when the slaves here in Texas found that they were free. And, so now it's a national holiday thanks to President Biden. But I hate when the left or is it the right? No, the right. I hate when the right tries to say that, oh, it's woke. Y'all didn't know, y'all weren't celebrating until, no, people were celebrating Juneteenth long before 2020. Like, don't play with people like that. Because, like I said, I've celebrated Juneteenth since I was a little boy. I think I first knew about Juneteenth at like the age of 3 years old, because it's not something that is taught in this. First of all, even in Texas, it's not something that's taught in the school system. You have to learn about Juneteenth through your friends or your family. So it's not something that is white. It's not something that is taught in the state of Texas, where the slaves found that they were free. So I love that, Quay talked about that. Jocelyn, I didn't catch the guy's name that she was talking about, but it's somebody, he's a Puerto Rican activist, but I didn't catch his name, and I wish I had caught his name. Then I want to talk about real quickly Ray J, you guys. So when it comes to Ray, I don't have an issue with the fact that Ray votes Republican, right? I don't have an issue with it. Vote how you want to vote. Vote what aligns with you, right? But the thing that it comes to when it triggers, what not triggers, but the thing that bothers me when it comes to Ray is your family has, activism in it. And again, I don't have a problem with him identifying and voting as a Republican. But let's just be real. When black men typically who have money vote Republican, it's for the almighty dollar, right? Because if you look at what the Republicans are currently, if you look at the things that the Republicans say and do, it typically doesn't align with anybody who is African American, a woman, or someone who's of the LGBT community. Anybody who is a minority, I don't really too typically see that the Republican Party identifies with you, Hispanic, other. So I just don't understand it. I don't. But it's not for me to understand. But he seems like he's very proud of his grandfather. But I'm like, would your grandfather be proud of the things that you do? Business wise, yes, I'm pretty sure he would be, right? But as far as your political affiliations, the fact that you would align yourself with someone like a CO or a you know who, I just don't understand it. But again, like I said, it ain't for me to understand, right? So after that, they did their literature midterms. When it came down to them literature midterms, I honestly believe that the whole entire group failed because I was so confused about what I was looking at. Tiff and I think the only ones of the literature midterms that I would say maybe they might get a C or a B minus would be Tiff and Parker. As far as Quay, Amber, Orion, Ray, Jocelyn, and the rest, I would really give them an F because Jocelyn, I believe it was Jocelyn, Quay, and Iman. I think they were in a group with each other, and they were all off key with each other. They weren't even on the same key with each other. They weren't saying the same words as each other. So I would honestly give those three an F. Then when it comes to Amber, and I don't know who it was. No, it was Ray, Amber, and Quay. And then it was Orion, Jocelyn, and Iman. They were together. Honestly, I would give them all an F. I really would. Maybe not an F. I would give them a D because I don't think they understood I don't think they did the assignment right. But hey, we'll see what they get next week because next week we'll see the grades. But let's pause here and move forward, you guys. Now, at one point in this episode, Tiffany is dealing with a little bit of anxiety, right? Because Tiffany tells us that she wasn't good at school, right? So she walked around the house and you can see that the house is a pigsty, right? Food is everywhere. But I've noticed one thing about this season and with Ray J is a slob because he eats in his room and his room is disgusting. So I was with Tiffany when she got upset about stepping in the butter cakes that he had. First of all, why is the cake on the floor? Why is it not in the trash? You could just see all the stuff around the house, and I was just like, this is disgusting. Like nasty as hell, right? So eventually Tiffany did apologize to Ray because she said it wasn't Ray that she was upset about. It was just, the school it's just her and school that she's upset about. So he accepted her apology. We did see as Tiff, Quay, and Parker went to go rehearse. You guys know that Magic City is coming up, right? So we do see them at the Magic City, at the game. And it just reminded me of when I was in band. I was in band from my sophomore year of high school until my junior year of technically my senior year. I started my senior year, but I just said, you know what? I had to quit band. And do I regret it? Not really. I probably should have stayed in band my senior year, but it was time for me to let it go. And I let it go my senior year. So I know those nerves, especially those nerves that Quay is feeling, right? I know those nerves he's feeling because I can say 100% that I felt them. When you get out on the field for the first time and do it in front of a crowd of people, it is nerve-wracking, right? Because I remember our first game that I was in my sophomore year, I was so nervous, and I think the thing is, when it comes to Quay, Tiff, and Parker, they're very nervous because this is not something that they've been doing for years and years and years. Whereas with these people that are doing this is something that they've been doing, so it's second nature to them. And so that's what it was when I first did it because when we first started band, when I first started in band, I remember going to practice the first time. We got on the field. They put us in our spots, and we ran. We learned a section a day, right? Because you learn based off of what you play, and then whatever your director has come up with, how he wants the halftime show to look. It was nerve wracking, and I remember again the first game that we did. Who I was nervous, but we got through it. And from there, it just became every time we would even if we did a home game or an away game, it was easy. You get on that field, you get ready, you know your marks, and you learn that stuff. So it's different for them because this is the first time that they're doing it, but overall they did great. So after the game, they went back home. Jocelyn wasn't at the game, and I forgot to mention the little sexual chemistry between Tiff and Orion. I'm like, Tiffany, you forgot that you got a fiance at home, girl? Like, you forgot that you got a fiance at home. But yes. So they got back home and they were playing music. So Jocelyn was taking over the aux cord, and Quay felt the way about that, right? And I know why he felt that way, because he felt like she was doing that because she don't want to listen to the music that Amber plays. And it was disrespectful, right? So Quay called it out. However, Amber didn't really seem too bothered by it, but Quay was, and Quay was upset that Amber didn't, basically have his side, because he felt he was defending her, and she didn't stand up for him. And I was like, but if she didn't find it to be a big deal, Quay, it's not a big deal to her. It may be a big deal to you, but it just might not be a big deal to Amber, and you can't get mad about that. But that's the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, and share the video. And until the next time, stay safe, you guys. Take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.